I have a question on John 5, because 18, because I showed this to
5:18. That
John 5, 17 to 18.
All the more they sought to kill him, because not only was he breaking the Sabbath, but he was making himself equal to God, right? By calling God his own Father.
Yes, that's the one. A Unitarian, because you know how it says Jesus made himself equal to God, and a Unitarian brought an objection to this.
Okay.
You know how in the beginning of the verse he said, okay, it says that Jesus broke the Sabbath, but we know he didn't actually break the Sabbath.
Because they had a wrong understanding what Sabbath observance is. But go ahead.
Yeah, so basically he said it was in the Jews' mind that he broke the Sabbath. In the same way, it was in the Jews' mind that he made himself equal with God.
Yeah, well, they can say what they want, but John is explaining the fact that they got upset is because Jesus was claiming to have the same right that the Father does to work on a day prohibited for Jews to do so. In other words, Jesus didn't justify. Now, again, let me explain what he's saying, guys. You guys understand these questions? Because if you guys focus, you're going to learn a lot from the questions as the Spirit works through me, and I pray he does. So the objection is this: the Unitarians who don't believe Jesus is God. Let me show you the verse, because at times I'm assuming you guys know the context. Jesus healed a man on the Sabbath. The Jews got irate. So then Jesus explains why he has the right to do what he did on the Sabbath. I want you to pay attention to what Jesus did not say. Please pay attention, brother. If you're not, you're not going to learn. Okay? You're not going to learn. All right, here it is. Let me show you. John 5, 16, 18. Let me get it for you. John 5, 16, 18. And for this reason, the Jews were persecuting Jesus because he was doing these things on the Sabbath. But he answered them, my Father is working until now, and I myself am working. So notice his justification. He didn't say, you have a wrong view of what rest is. See, the Lord could have said, I don't follow your man-made traditions. I don't follow the traditions of elders that have now nullified the Word of God and putting burdens on people, robbing people of the true spirit of the Sabbath. You're wrong. This is not work. You're mistaken. Here's what work is, and here is what work isn't. Because the spirit of the Sabbath is to preserve life and restore life, and that's what I'm doing. So that's the true meaning of rest. He didn't say that, right?
Yeah.
He could have said that. Look what he says to justify him working on the Sabbath. Look, my Father is working until now, and I myself am working. Now let's see if you get the implication of this. Look what he's saying. You Jews, does the Father take a break on the Sabbath? No. Because if the Father takes a break, who's going to sustain creation, preserve creation, keep creation alive and ongoing? If the Father takes a break. If the Father ceases from actively overseeing creation, there goes creation. So the Father cannot stop performing a specific type of work on the Sabbath, the work of preserving creation and sustaining it. Otherwise, there'd be no creation. And so the Jews understood. The Father is exempt from Sabbath restriction. Pay attention. The Father is exempt from Sabbath restriction. But we Jews, who are flesh and blood creatures, we are subject to Sabbath, not the Father. So what does Jesus say? Just like my Father is working on the Sabbath, I too am working. So they understood the implication. What's the implication? Let's see if you guys are listening. For this reason, therefore, why don't you relax, man? Get off your horse, dude. For this reason, therefore, the Jews were singing all the more to kill him, because he not only was breaking the Sabbath, but also was calling God his own Father, making himself equal with God. Okay. What's the implication of what Jesus just said? He's saying, look, Jews, you know, God the Father must still be actively working on the Sabbath to sustain and preserve it. Otherwise, creation could not exist. So he's not bound to Sabbath restrictions. Neither am I. Just like he has the right to work, I too have the right to work. What's the implication?
Are you asking me?
Now I'm asking you.
Yeah, okay. So the implication, like John said, that Jesus is equal to the Father, as that he has the right to to sustain, to work, basically.
So in other words, it's not the Jews misunderstanding the implication of Jesus' words. It's the Jews understanding the implication. Wait. Only God is exempt from Sabbath observance. We know the Father is God, so he's exempt. But when you say that you too have the right to work on the Sabbath and the Sabbath restrictions don't apply to you, who do you think you are? You think you're God equal to the Father? That's how you know. It's not simply the Jewish misunderstanding. The Jews got it. But then Jesus clarifies the kind of equality that he has with the Father. He's saying, look, guys, I am not some separate, independent God who does things in isolation, all alone, apart from the Father. I am the Son who's inseparable from the Father, who only does what the Father does and does whatever the Father does in the way the Father does it. That's John 5:19. No creature can claim that.
Oh, yeah, you're right. John 5:19, I missed it. He said that he does whatever the Father does.
And the same way the Father does, and that's all he can do. Can a creature say that?
No, definitely not.
So that's how you know the Unitarian doesn't understand the Bible.
Yeah.
So that help you?
Definitely, yeah. He missed the context.
That it's not the Jews' misunderstanding. The Jews correctly understood. Jesus just claimed to be equal to the Father in that he has every right that the Father does to work on the Sabbath, and Sabbath restrictions do not apply to him, just like they don't apply to the Father.
Yeah.
So the Unitarian is the one who's butchering the implication of Jesus' words.